Hey everyone, welcome back. As always, it is Michael here, and today I have two stories for you guys. Both of them are pretty spicy, the first of which has to do with an ex-wife and some drama involving the kids, and the second of which involves a boyfriend helping his friend cheat on his girlfriend. As always, if you enjoy, make sure to hit the like button, and if you're new, consider subscribing. Without further ado, let's begin. Our first story was made by a user named HotProfessional62, and it's titled, "I divorced my ex-wife over kids, and now refuse to be part of her son's life." I want to preface this by saying I have no intentions of getting back with my ex, and I'm in a very happy relationship with my now fiance. And I'm sorry this is long, I just wanted to add all the context in, and I'm not the best with words. I, 46M, married my ex-wife 45F when we were 26 and 25 respectively. At that time, we were both on the fence about having kids. I knew since college that I wanted to retire early, and my dream of having financial freedom was what really made me realize that kids didn't fit into the life I wanted. I was trying to find the right time to talk with her about it, but over the next few weeks, she started dropping hints that she wanted kids. She started showing me photos of her friends' kids, commenting on her nieces and nephews, joking about her getting and being pregnant, that one freaked me out, and even bought me a book on the joys of fatherhood that she thought I'd find interesting. I sat her down and asked if she wanted kids, and she admitted that over the years, she had grown to want a family. We had a conversation about it, and I realized that neither one of us was going to change our minds. I didn't want to keep her from what she wanted in life, so I brought up divorce. She really didn't want to divorce and kept trying to get me to want kids, but I stuck to what I wanted and we ended up separating. I obviously still loved her, but that's why I wanted to divorce. We were still young and she could find someone to have the family she wants with. I didn't want her to resent me for forcing my life choices onto her. Even after I filed for divorce, she still didn't agree with me and dragged it out as long as she could, so the divorce took almost 2 years. I dated over the years, but never really found someone that I could see myself sharing the rest of my life with until I met my now fiance 4 years ago. Apparently, my ex-wife struggled with dating as well and hasn't remarried yet. She has a son, but the kid's dad isn't in the picture. She recently reached out to me and asked if we could meet to catch up. I talked with my fiance about it and she thought it'd be a great way to clear up any bad blood between us, so I agreed to meet up with her for coffee. Things seemed to be going well until she brought up her son. She asked me if I was willing to be part of his life as a masculine influence, and I told her I was glad that she was able to have a child, but that it still wasn't something I was interested in. She tried to change my mind by saying that we could be a family again. She kept trying to convince me, and I kept trying to change the subject. I admit I got frustrated because things weren't going as I hoped they would, and I told her I was happy with my fiance's name and that I was not interested in her. She started to insult my fiance, so I left. I thought what happened was crazy. When I agreed to meet with her, it had never even occurred to me that she might want to get back together considering how long it's been and, you know, I'm not single. She kept messaging me, so I blocked her and I don't plan on talking with her again. I was talking with my sister and her husband about it, and they said that while I'm totally right for rejecting her now, that it was a bad move on my part to divorce her in the first place and that I was now being a jerk again by not being a part of her kid's life. They both agreed that my ex was right for wanting to work it out. They said it's my fault that her child doesn't have a father and that if I had given having kids a chance, I would have changed my mind. I just don't agree that kids are something one should compromise on. I just don't see how it's possible for it to not be a bad situation for everyone involved that breeds resentment. I don't know my ex's child at all, and I don't agree that it's my responsibility to step up just because his bio dad didn't. I asked some other friends and family and they agreed with my sister, so now I'm not sure if what I did was wrong or not, and I was just wrongly justifying it to myself. I personally agree with OP with pretty much everything so far in the story. While I do think maybe inserting himself into that kid's life is a good moral choice, it's not like anyone is entitled to OP and his time. I don't want to make the situation solely transactional, but OP really isn't getting anything out of this. And any amount of sympathy I had towards the situation and the kid was basically erased once his mother started trash talking OP's fiance. Once that began, it seemed much more like the ex-wife wanting to insert herself into OP's life and relationship rather than simply introduce him as a positive role model in her son's life. I'm sure there's a term for it, but I can't seem to think of it right now. But what I'm referring to is OP's friends and family saying that he almost has to spend time with this kid. He doesn't have to do anything, and I feel like those people would also not care for caring for someone else's kid if they were in the same position. The gaslighting is also absurd. In no way was OP responsible for his ex's current position. So about a week later, OP came back with an update. It says, "So some things have happened. My ex-wife somehow got a hold of my fiance's phone number. She contacted her yesterday and made false accusations that I cheated on her when we met up for coffee. Obviously, my fiance didn't believe her and just blocked her number. This morning, my sister showed up uninvited to my fiance's house with her kids demanding to talk. We don't live together and I was not there. My fiance originally wasn't going to let them in, but my sister sat on her porch and refused to leave. It was cold and windy and the kids didn't have coats on, and since it's not the kids' fault, she ended up giving in. She put on a show for the kids and made some coffee to prepare herself for whatever crap my sister was going to say. My sister started a whole spiel about how if she, my fiance, really cared about me and not just my money, then she would do what's best for me and leave. My sister claimed that since I'll always be connected to my ex, that I will forever be unhappy if I'm with anyone else. Apparently, if my fiance doesn't leave me, it's proof that she's only with me for my money, and that it's obvious that my ex and our child, which WTF, it's not my kid, would actually use the money in a godly way. My fiance laughed in my sister's face and just stared at her until she left. 1. My fiance and I are both a little confused by what she said. 2. I am better off financially than my fiance, but not by that much. 3. I'm also not religious, so even if I did get back with my ex, me and my money would still not be godly. We know she's crazy, but again, why did she think her plan would do anything? After my sister left, my fiance called me and told me what happened. I called my sister to tell her to leave my fiance alone and that she was crazy and delusional. She defended herself by saying that she knew what was best for me and was just protecting me from going through with the wedding since my fiance was obviously taking advantage of me, and that since I'm under her spell, I can't protect myself. I again told her she was crazy and delusional and told her that I never want to hear from her or anyone who's siding with my ex again, and to please pass that message on. Every time a family member or friend messages me about it, which has been 6 just since this morning, I ask them what their thoughts on that matter are, and if they side with my ex or sister, I block them. Now, this story has gotten a little bit crazy in my opinion, and I don't understand the infatuation that the sister has toward helping OP's ex. But before I elaborate further, there is one more shorter update that I want to get to. So this final update didn't occur until a year later. It says, "She's now my wife. I have kept everyone blocked, and although my sister did show up to my house a few times, I threatened legal action and she stopped. My wife and I now live on the opposite side of the country from my family, and we haven't had any issues. The wedding was wonderful, one of the best days of my life. We now live across the country away from my family and haven't had any recent issues with them. Thank you for your kind words." My sister showed up to my house a few times, but I threatened legal action and she's left us alone. My fiance is now my wife, and we currently live on the opposite side of the country from my family. Okay, so I was reading through the comments under the post, and I'm not sure if I missed it during the first read through, but apparently OP's family is deeply religious. OP himself is agnostic, and apparently his new wife is not exactly religious either. However, his ex-wife is very religious, and it seems the primary motivation behind the sister is making sure that OP ends up with someone of the same religion, and that's why she's so passionate about the entire situation. Again, I'm not sure if I missed a detail somewhere, but several users had been commenting about how the sister was actually in some sort of small cult. There was also an excerpt from OP where he explained that his sister wasn't exactly in a happy relationship herself. She had, I believe it said, 2 kids of her own, but her husband had an affair. Ultimately, the couple sorted their relationship out and they stuck together. However, many believe that her husband is still cheating. All in all, I'm glad that OP is happy and that he was able to separate himself from the delusional side of his family. Now, the second story that we're going to be talking about is titled, "My Boyfriend's Best Friend Cheated on His GF of 5 years numerous times. Today I found out that my boyfriend knew about it and actually helped this friend cheat. My boyfriend, Sammy, and I have been dating for almost 2 years now and have a wonderful relationship. His best friend, John, is really nice too, and I get along great with him. John had been dating Lauren for the past 5 years, and because our significant others are lifelong best friends, her and I I also developed a good friendship. About 2 weeks ago, Lauren discovered that John was cheating on her with multiple partners. There was a ton of evidence and Lauren broke up with him immediately. I felt bad about the situation because she had become a friend to me too. I talked to my boyfriend about how I didn't like the fact that his best friend is a cheater. I'm a big believer that the company you keep says a lot about you. He said that the whole thing had caught him by surprise too, but insisted that he and John were friends because they had similar hobbies and circle of friends, and that he loved me too much to ever hurt me like that. Fast forward to today, I called Lauren to meet up and have lunch sometime with each other. This was the first time I had called her after their breakup, and I wanted her to know that there was no reason why our friendship had to end. Lauren was furious on the line, saying stuff like, "How dare you call me after you helped him cheat on me? I thought you were my friend. You should have told me." I got her to calm down and explained that I had no idea that John was cheating, and if I had known, I would have told her right away. That's when she told me that my boyfriend, Sammy, knew that John was cheating and had covered for John literally dozens of times. Stuff like, "Oh yeah, Lauren, John's at my house, we're hanging out, and John's at his nephew's baseball game. He said he'll be back around 4. Just blatantly lying to cover for his best friend. Lauren sent me pictures and screenshots that proved without a doubt that my boyfriend had known about it for years and actively helped his friend cheat on his girlfriend. I'm beyond furious. What the two of them did to Lauren is horrible, but I'm also scared because if his best friend is a cheater and he helped his best friend cheat, what does that say about him? He literally saw Lauren every single week and referred to her as my little sister and had no problem looking her in the eyes and lying. This all happened just today, and I'm seeing my boyfriend this weekend and I'm literally angry to the point where I'm ready to break up with him. Am I wrong for getting mad at him over helping his best friend do something horrible? Initially, I felt that this was a pretty open and shut story. I think we can all agree that what OP's boyfriend did was morally just very wrong, but if we're trying to make the conversation about whether or not OP should break up with him, I feel like it's a little bit nuanced. However, to save you guys from a long rant that I had typed out, if I were OP, I would suspect how many times has her boyfriend cheated on her without her knowing and one of his friends covered for him. I think what she said about the company you keep is a reflection of yourself is a very powerful statement. Of course, it's not always hard facts, but it certainly is not a good look. We also know that the boyfriend willingly lies to OP in front of her face. Personally, at this point with all of this information, I wouldn't feel comfortable enough to remain in the relationship. And just under 2 months later, OP came back with an update. I was initially going to see Sammy just a few days after I found out what happened, but canceled on him. I took the weekend to think, talk to a few friends, and read over the comments to my original post. After a bit of thinking, I decided to break up with him. Sammy lied to me, lied to our mutual friend Lauren, covered up for cheating, and knew full well that his friend John was sleeping with multiple girls and doing it raw. He basically decided his friendship with a cheater was more important than Lauren being exposed to STDs. That was a deal breaker. I called Sammy on Tuesday and asked him to meet up with me in a public place. When we got there, I told him what Lauren had told me. He initially denied, but I think he could see from the look on my face that I wasn't about to be fooled. He literally looked me in the eyes and said, "To be honest, wouldn't it be worse if I was the kind of person who didn't cover for his friends? Don't you want a man who is loyal?" God help me. I was upset talking to him, but when he said that, I burst out laughing. What he was saying was just so ridiculous, but he said it as though he was a martyr. I stopped laughing after a second, but the look on his face changed completely. He leaned in and said, "You stupid bee, you think John was the only one messing around? He's never cussed at me before or said anything with so much anger, especially not with the intent to hurt me, but for some reason I just didn't care. I thought so little of him at that moment that his opinion didn't matter to me. It was actually kind of a comfort that he said that to me because it proves that he's not for me. When people show you who they are, believe them." So I just got up and left. I picked up Chipotle, then went home and watched Making a Murderer. A few hours later, I called Lauren and explained to her everything that had happened. She comforted me, advised me to get tested for STDs immediately. She ended up coming with me for support to get tested, and then a week later I got the results that I'm clean, and so is Lauren, and that was that. TLDR, my boyfriend who was helping his best friend cheat ended up being a cheater too. Both relationships are now ruined, but the two girls ended up becoming even better friends. So yeah, the suspicions were proven at the end there, and breaking off the relationship was definitely the right call. For most situations, I think that I'm a pretty forgiving person, but when it comes to cheating, I don't really think you should be very lax, especially not in the exact situation like OP was in, where it was impossible to not be highly suspicious of her boyfriend. Anyway, let me know what you all thought of today's stories in the comments below. Both of these were pretty good in my opinion, and both included some pretty irritating characters. As always, if you'd like to support the channel, consider checking out our sponsor, GamerSupps, for your caffeine and energy supplements, and use my code DLAM at checkout for a discount.